Albatross 1 going in for a gun run.
This is beautiful.
Oh, this looks cool.
This is a good look.
Okay, I see. Whoa! Hey guys, Stealth here, and welcome to Carrier Command 2. Carrier Command 2 is a game that's coming out soon, and the key was kindly provided by Microprose. Now, believe it or not, but we're currently looking at the menu, and the menu is, well, very different than what you would normally find. Normally you get the standard single-player, multiplayer, skirmish, whatever. Not so today. No, absolutely not. We got a whole cockpit. You can see the Microprose logo back there, being the publisher. Most of these buttons do absolutely nothing, but of course the displays do. Quit, profile, game, options, and different languages. Now there's a lot to unpack in this game. In this review I'm going to try to give you a more overall impression of what it is, what it does, what it can do. Starting with how the game is played. You get two different options. You get single player and what I think is most likely going to be the most played option here, or at least I hope it is, multiplayer. Because this game is about commanding an aircraft carrier, or an assault carrier maybe more accurately, and that requires a bunch of crew. Yes, you can do it alone if you want to, and I will show you how you can do that, but it is much more fun when you try to do it in multiplayer. Multiplayer can be played with a total of 16 people in one game. That is a lot of different players. Now you don't need all of them. You don't need all of them, but 16 players can be spread out over as many as one carrier or up to 4, because I can set up how many teams I want. You can set up how many islands you want to play on, and that's something I'll cover shortly. How many human teams there are, how many AI teams there are, how many islands, what the starting islands are, difficulty, etc. So you could have your 16 players spread out over just one carrier, everybody working together on one carrier, although it might be too busy for that. But you could also have 4 teams of 4 carriers, so one carrier each, working as small units, and I think that could make for some fantastic gameplay. Anyway, let's start with a single player game so I can show you a bit more about how this thing begins. For some reason or another, you wake up on some sort of cryopod. I'm not exactly 100% on the story yet, so there are quite a few things that I cannot really explain. But we start out on this, well, pod, for lack of a better term. It's some sort of spacecraft, and the first thing that they have you do is open the door. As you can see, I am, well, you might not be able to see it accurately, but I am weightless. I can float sideways, I can float forwards and backwards. Although, one could argue, how can you do that in 0G? Anyway, we come to the cockpit, and this is the cockpit that I just had the menu on. Let's have a look, or a listen, to see what the game is about.
Welcome back, Commander Altus Gage. Your disorientation shall pass. Your employer, the Drazu Industries Corporation, has asked me to reiterate its gratitude for you volunteering to enter stasis on the Horus Satellite Overwatch program. I am Captain Aparo, commander of UEC deep space colonies in this sector. Please be advised, the terrorist Stanza organization has breached the unmanned colony's firewalls on the planet of Telos, and is now in control of the ACC Omega carrier. You are to take manual override command of the ACC Epsilon carrier, and stop the Omega by any means necessary. Drazu hereby grants a full liability waiver for your actions, and the United Earth Coalition has issued an anticipatory pardon. Proceed to your landing pod immediately. It has been remotely programmed and is ready to go. Good hunting, Commander.
And so we begin. Currently there's nothing else to do here. All I need to do is get out of my chair, get over to the landing pod, so float through here, and make landfall. Get into the shuttle pod and hit the launch button. And we're currently apparently 93 meters up, but that number is going to go down very quickly. In 30 seconds we'll be on the planet, and in 30 seconds we'll be getting eyes on our aircraft carrier. Oh, sorry, assault carrier. I'm not exactly sure what the game wants you to call it, whether it is an aircraft carrier or an assault carrier, but considering it has amphibious dock as well, it's not strictly an aircraft carrier, as it also can deploy amphibious landing vehicles. Right, we have made it to the planet, except we're kinda sideways. In case the graphics look familiar, that's because this is from the same developers or same studio, I'm still not 100% on that, as Stormworks. Although I'd say this works very, very different from Stormworks. Anyway, up here is our ship. This is our carrier. You can see part of the hangar over there. The ship is indeed tilted, for those of you who are more observant, and it is my job now to launch it. So time to head up to the bridge. And here we are on the bridge of the carrier. Currently she has her systems powered down, as the startup sequence is still part of the tutorial. So let's power this thing up and get ready to get underway. First thing I need to do is switch the main power breaker and prepare to launch the ship. We are still in our dry dock position, if you want to call it that, our slipway. We're going to deploy the carrier. And all of a sudden all my systems are coming online. So, this is where the tutorial would kick off, but let me show you around the bridge, because we have a lot of different stations. Starting over here, all the way on the port side of the ship, we have the inventory/logistics stations. These are 2 screens per seat, so this is where one player can sit, although you can just as easily do it standing. And you can manage what your inventory on the aircraft carrier is, as well as what the loadout of your vehicles is. The vehicles are managed on the other side of the ship, and I'll get to those shortly. The inventory is very extensive. You got all sorts of weaponry, both for the main weapon systems for the aircraft carrier, sorry, for the assault carrier, as well as for your deployable craft. So you got, for example, torpedoes, TV-guided missiles. You can install various different turrets. You can have rocket pods on your aircraft. You can have battle cannons or artillery cannons on your smaller land-based craft. You have a lot of different options to work with. All of these might not be available, and that is where the second tab comes in. Because currently we are here in the bottom southwest. These things that you see over here are all islands, but we haven't captured them yet. This game is all about capturing islands by using both a mix of aerial and ground-based vehicles, and when you take control of an island, for example the one over here, I can start producing large munitions. So I can make sure that if my stockpile of large munitions falls short, I can make more. The same thing here for fuel, air chassis, small munitions, surface chassis, utility, and more warehouse storage in case you need it. Building it is one thing, but then you have to use a barge to get your stuff over to the carrier. So you can use a barge, and I'm not going to go into everything like that in this video, but you can use the barge to transport stuff to your carrier. And I can see the barge over here. This is the barge. It's currently attached to this warehouse and then ships it to the carrier. So if I were to require new supplies, I can get the barge to bring them from the warehouse to the carrier. And yes, the barge is fast enough to do that. Over here we have the vehicle loadout screen. S is surface, A is aerial. And this, for example, Sierra 1 or Surface 1, you can see it is a Seal class chassis. You have various different chassis available. And I can dictate what sort of stuff I want on here. It's currently equipped with virus bots, and these virus bots are used to capture new islands. But you can just as easily have a missile array, an anti-air cannon, a 40mm cannon, maybe an accentuated camera or a radar system, but not all of these are available. The radar I do not have in the store. So these things would be required to be brought over by the barge. Aerial platforms, similar various types. We got the Albatross. This thing is carrying a couple of missiles. We have over here the infrared missile as well as the 20mm autocannon. And you can also perfectly use them as scouts because they have a camera on a gimbal. The second class is the Petrel. and the Petrel is armed with infrared missiles currently and 20mm autocannons, but again, you can adjust these as you see fit. If you want to make this thing a bomber, you can. Next type, the Razor Bill, more of a helo, supposedly quite fragile, but it can hover stationary from what I've seen. So that makes it more suitable to going on little short run offensives where you might want to drop off a missile specifically at one target, or just pepper a target with 20mm, 30mm cannons, if you will. And finally, we have the Manta. Manta is more of the bombing run unit as far as I've seen. This one's currently packing, again, infrared missiles and autocannons. It has a camera gimbal in the front, and we have an AWACS radar system in its belly or core, and that's going to allow you to get more information about your surroundings. Now this vehicle loadout gives you a lot of flexibility for different mission profiles. So if you are, for example, facing an enemy, which could be a player, in the sense that an enemy aircraft carrier is approaching and it's commanded by players. If you want to quickly shoot down all their aircraft, you, for example, change your loadouts, and you make all your aerial units not Petrels, but you make them Mantas, fast jets. And you first focus on shooting down all of their aerial units. If you want to quickly take down all of their land-based vehicles, for example, you could go with a mix of aerial units and ground-based vehicles, but completely overlook anti-air, because they might not have any, or that you might not need any. So that is the Logistics and Vehicle Loadout tab. Over here we got the delivery log and the currency report, and this way you can see how much cash you have, because not everything is free. The more islands you control, the more cash you get, and the more cash you get, the more things you can buy. Next station, one I haven't interacted that much with, is transmissions. So this is more radio. You got damage status on the carrier, and over here we have the power monitor. The power monitor keeps an eye on what sort of systems are using what power. Then we have power, and this is still part of the power display. Where does your power go? I can say, you know what, I don't want to give any power to my weapons. I just want to have everything in propulsion and go as quickly as I can. Next up, helm. Control of the actual carrier's maneuverability. Over here we have the aircraft carrier status as well as speed. Now this is a fast aircraft carrier. It can do about 80-85 knots. Normal carriers can do somewhere in the vicinity of 30, maybe 38 knots. Then we have your rudder as well as the stability displays of the carrier. How are we situated? A depth sonar. Over here we also have an alarm status, and we can sound general quarters. Then we have 3 different navigation screens, and you can set these up as you see fit. For example, this one I can set to cartographic view. And this way I can have it, let's say, far zoomed out. So I have a better overview of where the next island is. This one I might want to have on a different view that shows me the current ocean depth. And this way I'll have a little bit more information about where potential hazards are before I have to pay attention to the depth sonar. And then over here you can have a different screen on, well, I don't know. Fog, maybe, or wind speed, something like that. A couple of different buttons: starting your engine, stopping your engine, side thrusters, reversing, and you have your rudder, turning port and starboard, as well as W and S for going faster and slower. Steering lock, maintaining heading, navigations, and headlights, all of these things are of course part of what your aircraft carrier can do itself. Next up, weapons. They are all offline. It's because we haven't activated them yet. The moment that I start activating these weapon systems, that I start arming them, more systems become online, such as over here the anti-air systems, the Sea-Wiz or the close-in weapon systems in case your carrier comes under attack from missiles. And over here we still have some more support weapons. This ship is not really meant to be fighting all by itself, although it can. It's more of a support craft. Your landing craft, your aerial units, they do the work, but it is your support weapons from the carrier who can do quite a bit of the killing. Keep in mind, these weapons are limited. You do not have a limitless supply of these. You might run out midway through a battle, and then you're solely relying upon either a different weapon system or on your barge to bring you new supplies. And being left, well, empty-handed in the middle of a battle could be deadly. Final section of the ship, or at least final section of the bridge, is a very important station. You have 3 seats, and these all control vehicles. Let me start with this. This is surface 1 through surface 8, and by hitting a button, you deploy one of your surface craft. The same for the aerial units over here, A1 through A8. Once you have a unit deployed, you can then give it orders. And our little brick over here, the square, that's our carrier. This is one of the islands that we have, and there's the barge. The moment that I deploy a new unit, we can start to command it. And you can either do that through first-person view, or you can do it in a mode where you let the AI take care of it. And this is where it is a game that is both playable in single player, but also very much interested in multiplayer. In single player, you can just be more of an overall carrier commander, if you will. And you can dictate where up to 16 of your craft are going to go. If you are in multiplayer, you could have somebody, and I'll show you this later, you could have somebody or several people working together to command, for example, aircraft and do gun runs on targets, while the surface units push up. And in that case, you could, for example, have 2 people sitting on these 2 seats, one going with an aerial unit, the other one potentially going with a ground unit, and one more doing an overall view of what drones go where. The final station on the bridge, if you will, is the holo map. It's, let's say, the captain's seat, and the captain is definitely in command of the ship, although you don't strictly need him. Yes, it is nice if you have, for example, a multiplayer session going, and you have one player that says, okay, I'm going to be the captain of the ship, you're all going to be doing what I say you do. Doesn't mean that the other players have to do that, but it does make for better communication. The holomap can be used to set up in any different way that you see fit. You can have, for example, a close look at what every island is, how it is positioned, what its geometrical shape is, but you can also adjust this map as you see fit. You can say, you know what, I want to see what the ocean currents are, I want to see what the ocean depth is, I want to see what the entire world is, I want to focus exactly on my carrier. You have a lot of different options here. The final part of the ship I wanted to show you is the vehicle bay. Over here you can see all of our 8 surface vehicles, different configurations. This one, for example, armed with a Sea Whiz, but we also have them with, I think, 20 mils or 30 mils. And if you want to go with a really particularly big cannon, this is, if I'm not mistaken, the Bear. And it has a substantially larger gun in exchange for less mobility. And again, you can change these as you see fit. You can have this thing with a Sea Whiz, you can have this thing with virus bots if you want to make it heavily protected. You can adjust these as you see fit. One deck above we find the aerial vehicle bay. This is the small rotorcraft. As you can see, it is really quite small. It is just a drone. A couple of anti-air missiles. The Mantas over there. I really like the look of these things. While they might seem like a bomber, they are actually pretty capable strafing runners, as I'll show you later in the video. And finally, I believe they're all the way over there. Yep, those are the tilt rotor aircraft that you can also use as a more, let's say, a more scouting role / scout attacker, depending on what you see fit. So, that's all the vehicles. Now, let's show you a bit of the game in multiplayer.
Something's shooting at it.
Yep, I'm seeing that.
Something's right in front of us in the sea.
Yeah, small craft. Slowing down. That says, can you take it out?
Oh, that's a high rate of fire, jeez.
Yep. Whatever it was, it's now in pieces.
Nice work. Atas, you should also be able to use the viewing scope to mark targets on the island ahead. Because there's something else on the coast. I'd say bearing 300. Several anti-air units. Can you pull that drone to a higher altitude?
Alright. Yeah. Taking manual.
One down. 2 more units still opening up on the target, potentially 3.
Okay, it's loading. On the way.
I'm gonna move us a little closer and then we can start deploying our ground forces.
We don't have rocket
Destroyed.
launch? Oh,
What sort of drones do we have in the ground section?
We have I-arm 2 with a those virus bots. 2 are with 30 mils, 2 are with AA guns. 1 is a 90 mil cannon, and 1 is artillery.
Which are the 30s?
3 and 4.
Deploying 3 and 4.
Stealth, how did you waypoints?
Let me see. Where's the... Oh, there it is. The albatross. Just drag.
Oh, is it that easy? See, seal.
Yeah, we're at Charybdis. Yeah, Seal is one of our vehicles.
Now we are on the enemy island.
There are still 2 enemy units.
Yeah.
Actually, make them, if they are enemies, make them 3 and direct west.
Yeah.
Floating in the water.
Pershing, which drones are the ones with the virus?
The first 2. 1 and 2.
Deploying only 1. What do 5 and 6 have?
5 and 6 are anti-aircraft.
Okay, I don't think we need those. And 7 and 8?
7 is a howitzer, I think, and 8 is a main gun, yeah. 8 is a tank.
Drones are attacking.
Requesting.
Do we still have 2 hostile drones up ahead?
Well, I think I fired a missile.
I've taken control of one of the SEAL drones. Yep,
Okay.
missile inbound.
Let's light things up.
Oh. I think you missed.
Albatross 1 going in for a gun run.
This is beautiful.
Oh, this looks cool.
This is a good look. Interface is a little wonky, but
Yeah, it
Yeah,
takes some getting used
graphics
to.
are great. Like once you're actually in the camera.
I think it was a miss once again.
Like that.
Edis, are you guiding those missiles in manually? Because I remember that that is required.
I kept a good look at them, but I just didn't.
New gun run coming in from Albatross 2.
I'll see if I can nail those
Alright.
anti-air guns for you.
Good,
Oh, beautiful. That's beautiful.
great. Good done.
I think I finally realized
Yeah, you got
how
it.
to make this work. And there is a solution panel on the left. And if that goes all the way, that's when I fire the guns. Okay, I see.
Whoa! I suppose you just took out some units? Or tried to?
That was actually a miss. Okay, that's a double kill.
Is that you? Because that was way too big for my level 30.
Yep.
Mind if I launch a bomber? See what that does.
Are those the same guys who made Stoneworks?
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah, it feels like it.
The art style is definitely the same. I love it.
Yeah, they're very into polygons.
Although it had a charm. My biggest problem is, quote-unquote problem, with Stormworks. It's not the game's problem, it's a kind of me problem. But I really need to get into the mood to actually start and, I don't know, experiment, with vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once I get in the mood, I would spend hours just making and, well, wrecking one.
I have another option.
Let's just say the odds were stacked against us from the beginning.
Green
Stealth, why am I
stone.
concerned?
Arm 1, 2, 3, 4. Abort. Down, up. Activate. The fuck is this?
Let's say this is a restart button.
Hold on, are
The
you
explosive kind?
starting self-detonation without me? Hold on.
I'm going towards the barge. I don't care. Bye.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa,
You can't
whoa,
jump.
whoa!
It's been an honor serving with you all. Stealth aside, this mission, this tour has been very cut short.
Hey,
Abandon
barge,
ship, you
wait
got
for
8 seconds.
me.
Whoa! Well... Shit.
Stealth, do we name that ship yet?
No. Suggestions?
This is Captain
ACCTNT.
Aparo, Division
Titanic.
Commander, UEC Deep Space Colony Command. Report.
Alright, that was the multiplayer footage. Overall, closing thoughts, I like it. I think Carrier Command 2 has a bright future ahead of it. The game should be coming out later this month, that is August 2021. And especially if you have a well-oiled crew, like people who know each other, who know the game, who take the game seriously, and especially who work together very well, then you can have an excellent experience in Carrier Command 2. There are some things that might need to be made a bit more balanced, if you will. I was, for example, spending quite a bit of time shooting up another vehicle with a 30mm, and I thought it should have died a while ago. It didn't, so I switched to a 90mm gun on a different vehicle, fired a couple more shots, and it still didn't get killed. It wasn't particularly strong, it wasn't particularly deadly, but apparently, I don't know, maybe the balance needs to get looked at when it comes to damage models. The launching and retrieving of craft from the aircraft carrier is great. It looks interesting, it makes you really feel like you're actually controlling a carrier with vehicles being launched and being retrieved. And being a carrier deck, you gotta be careful, because you can only launch or retrieve an aircraft at any given time. I think for ground-based vehicles the game is a bit less strict, but still you gotta make your choices carefully. Especially in multiplayer, this is the game, or this is where it shines. The game is definitely, or at least based on my perspective, it is designed for multiplayer. They want you to have a crew. If only as little as 2 people, that would already make it better. If you're looking at a crew of 4, I think you have a good number. Crew of 5 plus might not work that well, because there might not be that much to do. Whereas, for example, if you have 4 people, you got 1 on the helm, so controlling the carrier itself. You got a weapon operator, you got potentially 2 guys on vehicle control, but you can up that to 3. And this way you can work together and you can get a real good feeling for commanding a carrier. I haven't really seen how well or how poorly the AI performs. I know that they do go ahead and capture islands, which is the entire portion of the game. Let me show you how many there are, because there is a lot to capture. These campaigns can last a while. The AI, in this case starts over there, will capture islands. And something I hadn't mentioned earlier in the review. Anyway, when you're playing this with 4 teams, this could be fantastically interesting. Because you can have, for example, 4 guys pushing towards let's say the core of the islands. Not necessarily trying to get all the islands, but having more islands does help your campaign overall, because they allow you to get more income, more vehicles, and more production. Closing thoughts? As I said, I like it. I do recommend that you try it out. Link down below in the description as to more about the game, the Steam page. I'll definitely be covering it a bit more, probably in multiplayer, because I think multiplayer just makes this game shine. And, well, I'm looking forward to what you guys think about it down below in the comment section. So, any thoughts? Let me know down below. If you like this review, please give it a like so more people can find it and form their own opinion on the game. And again, if you want to get it, linked down below in the description is the Steam page for this game, so that you can get the game for yourself, potentially later this month, or if you want to wait a bit more and see how it develops later on. Thanks for watching, hope you found it useful, and I'll see you guys soon for more videos.